Welcome to Flowtricks. It is Ken. We are on Sunday. Oh my goodness, we're almost into September. We're almost done with summer, everybody. How's it going? As you all know, this is our live stream. So what I love about the live stream is this is your chance to ask me a question live and I'll be able to answer you right away. I hope everyone's been having a good week. Again, this whole thing functions off of your ability to ask me questions. So if you have any questions at all, be sure to ask me right now. We're going to do this for the next hour and a half or so. You can either send a message on YouTube. That's usually the best, is YouTube chat. I'm always looking at. If you're on Facebook, it takes me a little bit longer, but I can get to that too. Or you can send me an email. My email address is ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. And you can send me your video links there if you don't mind me sharing it with everyone on the stream. Just please don't send me links or don't send me files, because once in a while I'll get a file and there's this, like I said before, one time someone sent me a link to a pretty shady site. I already knew it looked a little bit weird, so I didn't even enter it. I didn't look at it just because it looked a little too funky. So anyways, I hope you guys are all doing good. Want to send a thank you for Dark Monk. Dark Monk makes all of my training chucks as well as almost all of my fire gear. And then we also got to thank Flow Toys, which you've seen already, or some of you have seen. They make amazing LED props. I have two vision staffs I can show you a little bit later. If you haven't seen it, they're one of the coolest LED props that I have right now. Before we begin too, I'm gonna give some shout outs in a second, but I always like to try, if I have some time, I like to share a thought. And so today I think I'd like to share a thought about letting go of ideas that don't work. And I think one of the biggest problems we have, especially as beginners, is we have ideas about something that we don't really know. And the thing about becoming good at something is it builds sensitivity so you understand how everything works. The thing about a beginner is they either make it too simple or they make it way too complex, and either of them won't help you get to the point of where you need to get. So today's thought is letting go of ideas that don't work. So if you have an idea about a move, for instance, we're going to take it to chucks, but this applies to all of life, just like everything I talk about. If you have an idea about a move for nunchucks, but you don't have an understanding of how that move works, your solution might come from your ideas of things that you've known in the past, right? So you may have other ideas of other moves that you've done, but sometimes, right, and this happens a lot, sometimes because you don't have that understanding, you'll use past ideas, but those ideas might have nothing to do with what that is. For instance, you might see a wheel, and you might think, well, maybe the wheel is very similar to a hand roll, a back to front hand roll, except you do it over the fingers. And so if you approach it from that concept, you're not going to realize it needs to rotate 360 around the fingers. It's gonna slow you down just by thinking of that. So it's really important to listen really well, to focus on the ideas that do work, and then to understand the transitions or the things that you're missing very clearly. When you can understand that, you'll be able to break down just about any move that you don't know and be able to learn or teach yourself how to make it work. A lot of this is really about listening and doing things that are outside of your knowledge or comfort zone. And the bigger you can build that, the more easily you're able to connect and learn new moves. This also works with all of your life, really, everyday life. So when you don't understand something, if you just fill in the blanks, there's a good chance you won't have a full understanding about something, which can actually cause you to see things incorrectly. So it's very important to listen and to try to learn the things that you don't know in order to have a wider understanding about everything. In my opinion, clarity is the most important thing, and that's with nunchucks or anything else. Understanding something clearly is the most important thing, because then you're able to make a battle plan that really reflects what needs to be done. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and give some shout outs, and I'll answer some questions soon too. I gotta open up my Facebook page really quick, make sure I usually don't have a lot of messages on Facebook, which is why I'm gonna check on this right now. Give me just a second. Boom. All right. I want to give a shout out to Youssef and Carissa and Kaushik and Ben, Isaac, Ruma, Jong, Mr. Zeps, Aaron, Abdullah, Psychodon, Halikoa. I got it right this time. Ray's on here too. Ikeflow, Jacobo, and Alpha Zero Omega. Thank you all for joining. That's quite a bit of people. And what I like about it is it's all around the world. So I'm gonna read down the comments of the YouTube channel, and then we'll just jump on in and see what we can do for today. I don't have a lot on the agenda, so I'm hoping you guys have questions for me. I have been working on a couple new things. Maybe I'll share them. They're not polished at all, though. I didn't even ask to see if the audio's coming in through. Okay, so I really hope so. I don't know, some of you guys were there when I spoke for about 15 minutes with no audio. That was something else. All right. Yeah, Ben was first. Yes. Isaac says hello, and Ruma says, I'm from Indonesia. Welcome. You know, USA is not the most popular people that watch on YouTube. It's actually India. India has more viewers than the United States when it comes to my nunchuck videos. Just interesting food for thought. Jong says, chuck about it. Mr. Zeps, hey Ken, thank you for your help. Could you give me some advice for training with double wooden nunchucks? Let me just write that down. Advice for double wooden chucks. Maybe you can show some exercises or tips for better flow. Tips for better flow. I'm just taking notes because I'm gonna, after I say hello, I will cover your question first. Aaron's got the fire. Cool. Abdul, good. Psychodon, I've been doing this about 7 days and your videos are very inspiring. Awesome. That's great. Psychodon, congratulations. It's only been 7 days. It's a huge journey and it'll take you it'll take you throughout the years to do this if you want to keep following it. So I'm really excited for you. I hope you share more of your progress about where you are. Stay in touch. I want to hear how things go. Halikoa says, how's it, Ken? Ray, hello, Ken. I feel like looking at digits today, specifically the horizontal finger roll combo that goes from middle finger to pointer finger to thumb. All right, horizontal combo, middle, pointer, thumb. So that would be an intermediate to a high intermediate technique for all you guys. We can still go over, I think I'll show it as a beginner and then as an intermediate person. That way we can take it step by step. Ike Flo, what's up? He has been to every single one of these streams, I believe, since March. Jacobo, preach the gospel, King K. Alpha Zero Omega says, hey Ken, and hey everyone. Jacobo says, the word of Ken Hill, I spread like a redwood and chain disciple. Ray says, audio's good. Jacobo says, it's precise audio. Haha, all good with the sound today. Volume's good. Wow, awesome. Okay, and then Jacobo says, I want to invest in LED nunchucks, and I was wondering if I should start a full-blown, or should I start out with cheaper ones, and is it just difficult to program? I'm going to answer these questions, and then we'll go into some techniques. So with LEDs, I think it's best to start with Flow Toys chucks, because they have a lifetime warranty, because they're in the United States. So if something breaks, they can fix it quickly. Like, if you're thinking about like these pixel chucks, I love them and they're great for shows, but pixels are very fragile. And I can't say this enough. Like these chucks, although they can draw pictures, they're very fragile, but they are amazing chucks. And I use them for gigs and shows because, you know, they draw pictures, like draws lightning bolts or whatever. So I really love them. Like, I really do. But the fact is I don't use these to train ever. I never train with these unless I'm training for a show, because I've had so many pixel products go out on me. I hear someone on my ceiling, sorry. Just because I've had so many pixel products go out on me, because there's a lot of circuitry, there's a lot that goes into making these things. Whereas when you have like Flow Toys, they're kind of made for practice more. So my suggestion is to get Flow Toys chucks first and get the feel for them, because those you can also do as a performance, so you can take it very, very far. The only thing that you're missing with the Flow Toys chucks is the ability to program pictures, which is the Ignis. There might be others actually. All I know of right now is the Ignis chucks, but my recommendation is definitely to start with Flow Toys. They're great for training, and then if you do want to get into the pixel chucks later, you can definitely pick some up once you get your flow down or once you get the feeling down. All right, so let's start with advice for double wooden chucks. Let me see. I don't know if I have. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Give me 1 second. Aha. All right. These are wooden chucks. I wanted to specifically grab these because you wanted advice for double wooden chucks. So what's the difference between wooden chucks and the chucks Dark Monk make? Well, the big one is the fact that the weight distribution is different. These are actually a little bit heavier than these. The Dark Monks are a little bit heavier, but the way that the weight is built allows you to be able to do a lot of finger spins or different kinds of rolls, so momentum keeps going. So when you're looking at these kinds of chucks, let me see here. Yeah, when you're looking for advice with double wooden chucks as opposed to like other chucks, I don't have a whole lot of advice to give you that's not already... I gotta close my laptop, I don't want to break that. I don't have too much advice to give you outside of what I've said before about all nunchucks, which is you have to understand the characteristics of every nunchuck. Every nunchuck has a different personality. So when you have your chuck, first figure out where your balance point is, because that's where your general hand rolls are going to be at, right? When you do throws, you're slightly behind it. When you're doing digit rolls, they're slightly ahead of it. And everything in between, understanding where that balance point is going to help you whether you have singles or doubles. But that's something to think about, to always consider. Other advice for double wooden chucks is the obvious, which is that wooden nunchucks can definitely hurt if you smack yourself. So don't be afraid to go slower at first. It's better to build your accuracy rather than your speed. Get your accuracy first. And what really helps with accuracy is planes. And the best way to build your planes is this. This is a plane. This is a very straight plane right now, meaning if there was an invisible wall in front of me, it's gliding across this invisible wall to create nice circles, right? So if we were standing to the side, you'll notice that the chuck is making a very straight line, and this is what you want. What you want to have is very straight lines when you're spinning from the side, because this gives you control. So when you have two chucks, your ability to be able to control the spin, no matter how far, wide, or how close your hands are, is going to be extremely important. So if you say you're an intermediate nunchucks, but it's really kind of hard to say what that could mean. I'm assuming that means you can do a 3-beat weave, but it is important to be able to hold your hands out wide, to hold them up close, to hold them up high, to hold them out wide, and then you can start getting in. I mean, even just doing circular spins or these kinds of spins, which aren't really that exciting, can get exciting the moment you start moving your hands in space. I mean, really all that's happening here is we're doing these spins, but then our arms are moving in space to kind of create different patterns, right? And the same thing could be said about all the preliminaries of nunchucks. If you really want to make sure that you're able to knock out a lot of these moves, you really want to work your planes. So when all your throws are in order and everything just kind of works just right. When your planes are off balance, like if I were to do a throw and my hand was a little diagonal, it's going to fly diagonally away from me instead of staying in front of me. So it's important to control your planes. So if you want some advice, I say this a lot, but it's really important, I think. If you want advice, you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. And one of the best ways to get good planes is to train in the hallway. Train with walls that are really close, and then try to spin your chucks in those close walls. In that close wall, just spin them back and forth, so you can get a nice tightness. Tightness with your planes that will allow you to be able to do a lot more moves. Again, a lot of times when people struggle with nunchuck techniques, most of it is because their chuck is just not straight enough. It's too curved. The angle's a little bit off, or their release is too early or too late. So understanding how you release and understanding how straight you can make your chucks does make a huge difference. And plus, it just looks better. Again, there's just a visual aspect of it when you have straight planes, as opposed to somewhat straight planes. It just has a different kind of look, right? The other one, this can still look nice, but it just has a different vibe. It doesn't have that circular flow that you have with this one, right? And that's just the way that I'm facing it. So definitely work on your planes, work on your control, and the last thing I can say for an intermediate person when you're trying to work on this kind of stuff is to maybe get some elbow pads or get some sort of padding, because if you smack yourself, you can do some serious damage with, especially if you're talking about chucks. And most of the damage doesn't necessarily come from the weight, but it just comes from this hard object hitting you. So try that out too. Without actually seeing the techniques that you're already doing, it's hard for me to give you technique advice, but I can tell you, without a doubt, working on those planes, if you haven't worked on them a lot, is going to help you immensely for a lot of the new moves. And then, okay, one more thing I will say, and this is just all nunchucks, also remembering that nunchucks basically have 4 different ways. Doubles, you have 4 different ways you can spin them, generally speaking. Now, this can change, but they can either both be going, I mean, it's really simple if you think about it. They can both be going counterclockwise. They can both be going clockwise. One can be going clockwise while the other goes counterclockwise, and then vice versa. And those are the 4 ways to spin it. But if you think of it in those terms, for instance, if my left hand is going counterclockwise, my right hand is going clockwise, I'm able to do split opposite hand rolls, these. You won't be able to do these moves any other direction. It has to be in that way in order to do this move. So anytime your hands are here, you know you can go into split op hand rolls, right? I don't know if you know the split op hand rolls, but that's something good to know. But you can't do something like a weave. Now, in order to get a weave, what needs to be done is you just need to stall one of the chucks and stop them. You either need to stall it or bounce it. So if you understand your stalls, so right now, like we're in split opposite hand rolls, right? Say you want to go to weaves from here, you have to add 1 bounce or one stall. And a bounce, if you're using oak chucks, I would not recommend bounces. Like you can do like a bounce under here. So what I did here was I held my arm out and I bounced underneath my tricep, and then that changed direction. And when we change direction, it'll allow us to turn over into a 3-beat weave. So when we're doing split op hand rolls, whoosh, whoosh, if you just kind of if you hold one arm out and you let the other one bounce underneath, you can move it under here. Sometimes though, you'll hit your elbow or you'll hit your bones. So what I like to suggest also is working on stalls, which is basically you're not letting it bounce on anything, you're just kind of pulling it under the arm and letting the chuck just move straight up, and then you're pulling it back, and that allows you to change direction too. So if I was spinning it, I'd push it up and pull it back, and now I've changed direction. So now we can go split op hand rolls, rah, grab. See that stall right there? Whoosh, and then we go into it. Up, over. What's that? You gotta get that stall though, because they both have to be going the same direction. They either have to be going both counterclockwise or they both have to be going clockwise. So that's that's a little trick for you though, is just adding a stall or bounce. I think that's a good start. A lot of concepts to dive into with that one, but adding that 1 stall or bounce will allow you to get through all 4 of those patterns. Okay, now tips for better flow, and then we're going to go over to Ray McDonald's question next. Really what the best tips for a better flow that I can say is, okay, you get the technique, right? Once you get the technique, like you saw how that worked, right? We'll go over this one, tips for better flow. What stops people from having good flow is they're in their heads, they think too much. And if they're thinking, you can't stop your flow at all. So if you're doing this, you think, what is that move I have to do next? There's a stall in your flow and it'll immediately fumble, right? So what you have to be able to do is start working on moves that you can do without thinking about it. So a good example is me doing these split op hand rolls. The only reason why I can talk right now and do it is because I don't have to focus on how to do a split opposite hand roll. So what you need to do is start practicing on moves that you can do without thinking about it, so your brain can start thinking about other things. Here's the perfect example is, instead of me talking to you guys right now, I could be thinking about the next move that I want to do, and maybe I want to do the weave. And if I want to do the weave, my brain would say, okay, Ken, how are you going to go? You need to go into 2 front hand grips. You need to go into 2 front hand grips. You need to stall, and then you need to break into a weave from there. So I can think about the next move that I want to do if I can do moves without thinking about it. But if I have to focus on the move that I'm doing, I can't think ahead. And so that will help you with or without good flow. That'll help you build better flows to be able to have fallback moves that you can do subconsciously. So now I think, okay, first we'll go into 2 front grips. Here's a front grip here, here's a front grip there. Okay, good. Then the next thing I need to do is get that 1 stall in, boom, and then I swing it over and I go into the 3-beat. Now eventually you don't even have to make that plan, because you'll just get used to that combo and it'll just happen automatically, whoosh. But that's kind of how that's a tip for getting good flow. If I don't know what I'm doing, I have fallback moves. Like I might just do, I like to do a lot of 3-beats and reverse 3-beats with turns. I don't have to think about these, so I can start thinking, well, what do I want to do next? Maybe I want to do a behind the back throw. Okay, great. Boom. Okay, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to do these flows again until I can figure something out. Maybe I'll throw a front to front here. All right, going back to these. What else can I do, So it kind of works in that way. There we go. And the cool thing is when you've been doing it for a while, you'll have you'll have a great variety of moves. Now I was just showing with 3 beats, but eventually you have a great variety of moves that you can pull from. So it makes it look like you're automatically just moving from one flow to the other, but most of it's automatic. So then you're just focusing on the big moves. All right. Next, we're gonna go to Ray's question here. Ray wants to know how to do a horizontal combo, middle, pointer, thumb. So it's going to be middle, pointer, thumb. It's a digit roll combo. We're going to consider this under like a high intermediate type of combo. So if you don't know how to do this, the prerequisite for this, okay, the easiest prerequisite is knowing how to do all of these moves before you connect them all together, which can be pretty tough. But to start with, let's just work on the middle finger, the middle finger roll, because that's kind of where you want to start. Usually when I start it off, I kind of pull my hand, sorry, I got a message here, kind of pull my hand, I'm in a front grip, but I'm going to kind of push my pointer finger over here because my middle finger needs to be closest to the rope. That way, when I stick it up into the air, like this, now when I stick it up into the air, it's all ready to go. You're going to stick, unfortunately, you guys, you do stick your finger, you're basically flipping yourself off. You're not, for all you guys that were disappointed in that, I'm sorry. It just happens that way. I'm sure you could turn it around if you really worked at it. So what you're going to do, what I usually do is hit bounces with my hand upside down with this grip. So I take my pointer finger, I push it over into the back so my middle finger's kind of close to the rope, and then I'm just kind of bouncing it back and forth. I'm going to drop this a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. And we're just kind of doing hip bounces over here, left to right, right? When I bounce it on the same side, which is my right, now I'm going to kind of pull forward like this. So as you can see, whoosh, you can almost see what's about to happen here. What's about to happen is I'm going to pull the chuck towards my face like this. And this is going to give enough torque for me to lift up my finger towards myself. So again, we're here, we come this way, and the moment it starts to the other side of the chuck starts to edge towards the face, I'm really going to snap back and I'm going to just hold it here. So it's like whoosh, like that. So here, whoosh. Now, the way that this will probably take some time to really feel this out. Sometimes what I like to do is, as the chuck is spinning this way, I flick it sideways to give it a little bit more speed by the time it reaches the middle finger. You do have to get a little bit of speed because you have to pull it hard enough to get through 3 fingers. So here, twist. You kind of looked fast because I was really trying to twist into that so I can get the finger in. Make sure all your other fingers are down enough because if this finger comes up, it's going to get in the rope and it's going to tangle up and it's going to fall off. So you really got to try to flip yourself off, right? So here, flip yourself off, and the moment that you feel the chuck reaching the other end is when you pull out your other finger. So as soon as you feel your middle finger touch the chuck, your pointer finger will take its place right on the other side like that. I'll do that a couple times so you can see that. We get it through. Once I feel the other side of the nunchuck, I'll feel it. It's no longer on the rope. I can feel that happening. This finger will prop up exactly on the other side, and then it'll rotate to the other way, this way. Now you notice I went from here. There's a rotation that needs to happen. So the moment I grab it from here, what's going to have to happen is I'm going to give it a second boost by kind of twisting my hand sharply, and then all of a sudden my second one is down here. Let me see exactly where it is. Oops. I'm going to give you exact details. Give me a second. Yeah, I guess it's more. There's a little bit of a twist. It's not as big as I thought. Once it twists over here, you really got to take like this twist, this kind of turn that happens though to kind of give it energy again, so it doesn't just die out. So grab. Once I grab it with my finger, I'm really twisting into that one, and then we're going right back, and it's going to roll to the other side again. So we'll just practice with those two now. Grab, twist, and roll. It's hard to do it slowly. Like that. Faster it'll look like this. Oops. Let's do the other chuck. Faster it'll look like this. Like that, right? So what's really happening is there's got to be an exchange of energy. Every time your finger grabs it, it kind of flicks to kind of give it more energy, and you have to make sure it's really tight against this rope. The moment you sense it on the pointer finger, the moment you sense the end on the pointer finger, what's going to happen is your middle finger can come up as well, but your thumb is going to basically grab over the top of it. This is the last part of it. And then you're going to flick it. You're actually exchanging it here, and then your thumb is going to stick straight up, and it's going to roll across the very bottom. I wish I had like ropes hanging from the ceiling that I could just hold the nunchuck so I can hold my fingers over it. But essentially it's like roll, 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 gets to the end, pointer finger comes up, flick it sideways, roll, roll, roll. And then if you can, I usually grab with 2 fingers. I usually grab with my thumb in my middle, but as long as your thumb grabs it, I usually use the middle just to kind of give it a little bit more torque. And as we spin it, it rolls again. And then when you reach the end of that, you can grab it. Let's see here. I gotta see. When you reach the end of that, yeah, you can just grab it straight into a front grip and you're out of the whole thing. So 1, 2, 3, grab. Again. Grab. It's a feeling thing. I'm explaining this step by step, but in the end, like, it's really hard if you're trying to break it apart into techniques. Eventually you're just gonna feel when it runs through its course, and you gotta go to the next one. It's really fast. So one tip that I can give you is first start with the pointer finger to thumb roll. See if you can get this one before you try the third one, because the middle finger does make it a little bit harder. It's more in an awkward position to start the roll off. And it'll be kind of the same thing, where except for instead of starting underneath the hip, I usually start with a tricep bounce over here, and then I kind of push it forward, and then my finger comes up again. Whoosh, like that. Hopefully that helps. Finger rolls and thumb rolls are kind of tricky because there's no way for me to slow it down. If you go too slow, especially horizontal, it just kind of flops and you lose the energy and it doesn't work. So hopefully that helps. Let me know if it does. Otherwise, Ray, you know you're a part of Pro Tricks, so we can definitely cover that on Thursday a little bit more in depth too, or I'll look into a slow motion video that I can make for you too. Oh yeah, with that said too, I just want to let you all know, like, you know, out of work performer right now. It's been almost a whole year of very little performances. I think I've had 2 this whole time COVID started. So if you like Flow Tricks, if you appreciate the lessons or anything like that, and you want to help support us, right there, boom, there's a one-time donation, is paypal.me/flowtricks. And then also there's if you want to, we have over 110, I think, exclusive videos if you join the Patreon, which is ongoing monthly support for Flow Tricks. It's patreon.com/flowtricks. We also do, if you're a part of the Pro Tricks member group, every Thursday we do a 1.5-hour Zoom class where all the Pro Tricks members, you know, it's a small little group, but we all get together and we basically jam out. I teach, but I get to watch you spin live and give you a little bit of advice too. That's all on patreon.com/flowtricks too, so check it out. Appreciate the support either way. All right, I'm gonna continue forward now. I think I got those questions done, but again, we're doing live streams, so let me know if you have any questions at all. Be sure to ask. I'm gonna check on Facebook first, just because YouTube's easy to catch and sometimes Facebook questions slip away. Give me just a second. All right, perfect. Oh, all right. I'm gonna show you all something. Give me just a second here. Whoosh. That's not. Just did a new video, by the way. Don't forget, I'm Ken Hill Fire for Instagram. So if you look up Ken Hill Fire, I have 1,833 posts. Like, dang, that's a lot of posts. Most of it's just experiments and explorations. For instance, my son was working on Adobe After Effects, and he came up with this little cool thing. It's pretty neat. Just spent a couple hours working on some of the animations and stuff. But yeah, this is also the Flow Toys staff right there. That's the Vision staff. Well, I was going to show you a little jam I did today too, which is this. A kneeling nunchuck routine. Well, I haven't kneeled in a while. I was just trying to play around with it. It was pretty tricky though, because there's a lot of times you can kind of hit the floor when you're doing this kind of thing. But this is a nice cool move that I haven't shown in quite a while, which is the floor spin, where you can push the chuck into the floor and rotate it across the palm of your hand. Just some flow. I wanted to show you Ken Hill Fire though. Ken Hill Fire on Instagram. Got all kinds of little experiments and explorations to check out. All right. Jeremy says, "What's good, Ken?" Everything's good, man. Santiago, wash hands, wash hands, wash hands. Isaac says, is it possible to do finger rolls with nunchucks that have a chain? Absolutely. Let me go grab one. Here's a chain. So when you have chains, some things to keep in mind is things like chain unwinders like this can hurt a little bit more because you have this huge metal thing grinding against your fingers. But you can definitely do finger twirls, and I find that finger rolls don't hurt as much as long as you're not doing the bounces or like this type of motion here, you know, where you have to stop the motion in order to keep it going. But when I first learned all of this, I started with chain and did it religiously for years. I was huge. That's why I called this a chain unwinder, was because at the time I didn't ever use rope. But this will grind on your hand quite a bit. This wear and tear happens pretty fast. Anything with dealing with like these kinds of things just like kill the arm. Like, I don't know if you can see, but that just like kills the arm. So some of the techniques are a lot harder to do. Wheels are a little bit harder just because it's slippery through the fingers. Whereas when you have a rope, your finger can kind of sink into it a little bit easier. When you're using chain, your fingers just kind of slip around, so it's a little bit harder to get some of these moves off. It doesn't like lock into place, but you do have the ability to swivel the chucks, which allows the chucks to spin in a circle on itself. And someday, some of you guys that are into fire dancing, there's a technique that you can use only with chain chucks. That's probably one of the best things that I think about chain. If you also like just meaty grips, chain is nice. I prefer rope myself, just because I don't like it when these swivels break. It can be very uncharacteristic. It could be random. You might not be ready for it. So that's the big reason why I don't like it. But it is nice because there's something about the thickness of a chain that I do appreciate. I just don't like how it can pinch and grind against you. So hopefully that helps. All right. Let's see here. Ray, I'm getting pretty good with each of the rolls by themselves. It's connecting the different fingers together. Yes, so that's going to be a motion of sensitivity. We might have to do this kind of in slow motion for you to see this one, because it's really about building the sensitivity once it rolls to the moment you feel the solidness of a nunchuck, to be able to always trap it on the other side. It's always trapping on the opposite side of where your finger's at. So whenever you're doing a complex roll, really think about, like, when you're doing the middle finger, really thinking about clamping in, and then when the pointer finger comes up, clamping in and sticking out. So clamping in and then sticking out. That hopefully will help. So we get to here, we clamp in, and then we give it a little bit of a boost, and then it sticks straight out. And then it clamps in, give it a little bit of a boost, and then it sticks out. The boost is very subtle. You're basically just you're finding the rotation that's already going, and you're just moving towards it a little bit faster than it's already going, just to give it a little bit of just to propel it a little bit faster. All right, GDIX on fitness, welcome. Welcome. And I think from there we've hit all the questions so far. If you have more questions, definitely let me know, or if you want me to elaborate on some of the questions that were already asked, definitely let me know. Otherwise, I figure we can either talk or train. You tell me. Should we talk about something? Should we elaborate on something that's already been done, or should we work on something new? I can show you. Let me see. Man, I've been working on that, and that's kind of a hard move to do, because you're trying to trap the rope in between your fingers and your arm. But I can show you that one. So basically the way this works is it's kind of like a syncopated wrist roll. So we're kind of doing like the syncopated roll, palms facing towards the sky. We're rotating with the rotation underneath. That's a syncopated roll, right? But what I'm trying to do is figure out, well, is there a way for me to stop a syncopated roll mid-spin and then reverse directions into a throw? And the answer is yes, you can, but it's very technical. I don't think I've ever taught this move before, so I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit because I haven't analyzed it enough. I was literally working on this earlier today. But the way it works is it's going to start similar to a syncopated roll, except you're going to try to get your hand in the way. So it's going to be palm facing towards the sky, get the rope underneath your wrist, and then it's going to twist just like it usually does, But the moment you get to here, you're going to tilt your hand in the way, so that way this chuck kind of gets stuck over here while the other side of the chuck wraps around here. It's almost like a chain unwinder if you think about it, except you're using something that doesn't have a lot of bend. Like it's not as defined to go from this direction because it's literally sitting on the side of your hand like this, and then this thing is wrapping through this. It's almost like your arm is diagonally pushing through it while this wraps and bounces off of just the bottom part of your arm, the lengthwise part of your arm, while this is resting on the tops of the fingers over here. If you need to, you can even hold up your pointer finger so it doesn't slip past your fingers and just fall off too. Again, I would consider this to be more of an advanced move because there's a lot of ways it can go wrong. But and I haven't found the sweet spot yet, but that is a nice way to trap your chucks. Trap and then throw it the opposite way. Again, what I'm kind of doing is lifting my pointer finger just a little bit more. Starts as a syncopated, and then my hand gets in the way, causing more of a chain unwinder like move here, and then I lift my hand and that pulls it the opposite direction, flinging it in the air. Boop, boop. Aikiflow says that's a bit of a contact staff move. I bet it is. It's probably like a fishtail, right? Or I know this is the worst staff to use for contact, but there's a move where you can basically take the tops of your hand. This is like the lightweight dowel, so I have no weight to counterbalance this thing. But you can kind of like hold it over the edge by using the ridge of your hand and moving towards your body. I wonder if I have a better staff. So it does kind of take off of that. So the power of using like your hand as a wedge to keep it in place is very similar to this nunchuck move. You're absolutely right. The problem that I have with this move is simply getting the bend just perfect because the rope is a huge factor in this not working. If the rope's off just a little bit, if your hand's up here, it just falls over the top of your fingers and this just kind of flops down. There's a lot of ways that it can go wrong. So it's a little bit harder to get that lock in place. So it's just a little bit more practice, and it's not always clean. My goal though is to be able to do it with both hands. I thought it'd be really cool. I can't do it yet, but lock it in with one hand and then reverse it to the other hand and just lock it back and forth. I think that would be a really cool move. I'm just barely getting it with my left hand right now and do not have it at all with my right. So yeah, it's something like that. It just looks really bad, but you can kind of see yeah. Anyways, you can watch me fumble because I'm in the play state right now with a little bit of training, I guess. But that is the new move that I've been working on lately. I've also been working on, where's the staff at? Totally lost. Here it is. I've also been trying to think of different moves that I can do with one staff and one nunchuck in the other hand. Similar to two chucks, except for the idea of being able to, for instance, do anti-spins with the staff while the other hand is spinning the chucks and coming up with different kinds of motions. Really just trying to branch out and trying to see if I can get more independent motion. Another thing I was working on is an old move that I worked on once, which is holding the staff still, wrapping it with the chucks like this, then figuring out what you can do from this. Like right now the staff is kind of locked into the chucks, so I can almost like spin it around, it'll stay locked. If you move it too fast, it will fly off. So there's a certain speed element that has to be understood too. If you go too fast or too hard, you'll pull it off of the rope. But I feel like there might be something really cool that can come from it because there is a nice little lock that happens here that you can play with. Basically, the rope sits on top of itself. The top chuck is pulling down onto the rope that you're holding onto, so it causes it to kind of lock into the chuck. I feel like there's probably some really cool things that you could do with this. It's just going to require a little bit of exploration. I'm going to read really quick here. Thomas says, "Hey Ken, I recently got some Ignis Pixel chucks. Awesome! And I'm loving them. What are go-to moves that look great with Pixel chucks?" Sure. All right, well, I've got my Ignis Pixel chucks right in front of me. So when you're talking about Pixel chucks or LED chucks, it's really important to realize that most people won't see your techniques. Most people are going to be blinded by the light. So it's more about the patterns that you create than the techniques that you do. So for instance, wrist rolls are always going to be a good feature to do when you're doing Ignis chucks. Wrist rolls can be boring for the performer if you've been doing it for a while. So one thing I would say though is a good go-to move with any kind of LED chucks is going to be just footwork with rolls. So the ability to turn, like your ability to do reverse figure 8 wrist rolls on one side and forward figure 8 wrist rolls on the other. Very good, very good. Because it creates a nice visual. Add a little bounces, but don't go too hard. Remember, go really light if you're using pixels. Go really light on the bounces to reverse direction. Obviously, throws are also nice. Just be careful if you're using pixels. Moon waves, I feel like, look really great, but really hold them still. So here, pop, pop, pop. See, like it's just not like bounce, bounce, and be done with it. It's too fast. Make sure you hold it, pop it, and then go back and do it into your moves. Basically, think about the patterns that you make. These are always great because this creates a circle. Any spins are also fantastic. Any spins are great, and then also adding stalls. So you have all this motion and movement, and then it just stops. It'll kind of add another like sharp staccato element to it. I feel like all of those are really great things. Reverse illusion rolls are nice if you worked on those. Oops, I ran out. It's at the end of the routine. Those are my recommendations to start with. Obviously, the wheel is also a good one where you just stand here and you just create, you got this nice picture just rotating in front of you. That looks fantastic as well. If you're able to get close to them, S catches look good. Again, it's just because you're able to, again, when you're using LED chucks, I would really stop more before you do the next move. Oops, hand got tingled. So 1, 2, 3. And then go fast, and then go slow. Play with tempo and how fast you spin things. It's always helpful. So when you're using LEDs, it's more about thinking about the patterns you create as opposed to the techniques that you do. I feel like all of those draw a slightly different pattern, so they're interesting to mix together. But if you do something like figure 8 wrist rolls and reverse figure 8 wrist rolls, both kind of look the same to the eye, but it just allows you to turn and to spin with it, which is the only reason why I recommend doing both of those. But if you get too intricate, some of the harder techie moves get lost with those kinds of chucks because you just can't see the intricate movements so easily. All right. Aiki Flow, that would be impressive if you can master that. Thank you. Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. I don't know, gotta have something, gotta have goals. And I haven't tried a new nunchuck move that's challenged me. And I think since the last time I worked with Ray on the Pro Tricks, he came up with a really hard one. But usually I don't get a whole lot of tricky moves to work on or make myself do it, I suppose. Thomas says, thanks for the tips. I will work on my anti-spin. They look great. Yeah, anti-spins are fantastic. A really good way to break out of the cycle of the other patterns. Paul's tips, my hero. I'm glad to see you again, my friend. You're like Wolverine, you never age. Thank you. Only on the outside, my friend. I feel I'm definitely, hitting that point now where I'm going to be 43 in a month. No, not even a month, in like 3 weeks. And starting to feel it a little bit, getting a little bit slower, I've got to work out a lot more and I've got to eat a little bit healthier than I did 10 years ago. But, it's forcing me into good habits, so that's cool. Okay, so we've got all that down. If you have any more questions, be sure to holler. I'm still going to be around for we're going to do this for at least 20 more minutes, if not 30. Just depends on what kind of questions you all have. So give me some good questions so we can keep this going. Otherwise, I guess I'll just flow a little bit. I'll play some music and jam out and see what we come up with. James says, Ken, found your videos a few months ago for tricks. Just want to say thanks for the lessons and encouraging attitude. I appreciate you, bro. Much love from Ireland. Thank you, James. Really appreciate that. In Ireland, that sounds awesome. When you guys tell me that you're from all these distant places, it makes me jealous because there are a lot of places I've always wanted to visit. So I'm going to jam out for a little bit. I think I'm going to play some music. Until you have some questions for me, of course, I want to answer questions, but just until then, I figured I'd just have some fun with the chucks. All right, gonna turn on some music. I have to play music when I train. That's something that's a must. I feel like it's almost like a dancer. Like a dancer dancing to no music is really tough. I'm the same way. All right. Oh, Master Petrosi says thank you. You're the bomb. You're most welcome. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's awesome. All right. Almost ready. You know what? Let's use the Ignises for a minute. You can kind of see how I would do with the LEDs. Again, be sure to ask questions if you all have any, and I'll come back in a few minutes. Missed that one. Let's try that again. Hit my shirt. Is that a workout or what, man? Whew. Any questions? All right, I got a couple questions, but I'll check into it in just a moment here. I'm gonna play around with one staff and one chuck, and then I'll get to questions. Butterfingers. I lost that one. I think that's good enough. So you have some questions here. Nothing like a good little flow, though. Okay. Let me just see here. All right, Master Petrosi, thank you. You're the bomb. That was the last one I read. Thomas says, that was about 10 years ago. Sorry, I'm catching my breath. I'm just like, Nr. Ikeflow says, can you jam with the staff as well? Yeah, I can jam with this, just a pure staff in a minute, for sure. Master Petrosi says, can you X-Sketch on the leg? I'm going to get back to the jam after I answer a couple of these questions. The X-Sketch on the leg looks weird. If you can do it, it's a little bit hard to do. I mean, basically you just use your leg as leverage here and you got to be able to push through. The problem is it's really, like your leg is big, right? So it's a little bit harder, but you got to be able to push through it and have it that way. Do you see? Just like if you did a bicep X-Sketch here, you can push through to get to the other side. But the problem is your hand has to get underneath your thigh. It just looks a little wonky in my opinion. You might be able to do it better over your shoe or something where it's not as round, so you can get around it less. Anything with a smaller circumference, even other chucks, you should be able to get an X-Sketch into, see? And well, except for the rope wrapped around it, but I'll probably have to, because this is so small, I have to push my hand a little bit more forward to get the chuck to fit just right, like that. It just be something like that. When you're talking about a leg, which is this thick, it looks a little wonky to have to be able to get your hand all the way through it. You can totally do it. To me, it just doesn't look. I mean, you might be able to do it with your neck even, but you can X-Sketch through just about anything. It's just the circumference can get in the way of it making it look good. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry. Or that bicep moon wave. Bicep moon wave. Nope. Don't think you can do a bicep moon wave. The moon wave requires your fingers to get under the tabs like this. In order to do a bicep moon wave, you'd have to get your hands underneath the tabs and the chucks would have to cross over. I would say, like, if you had a long chuck, you might be able to do a bicep moon wave, but that's what you're looking at. You'd be looking at probably having two biceps holding it there, so the rope would have to be from this length to the other length, and then they would cross underneath your arms. Then you could get a bicep moon wave that way. But what I was doing was a bicep chain unwinder, otherwise known as, that is something. What did they call that? Shoot, I just forgot. I'm having one of those days. I know you guys have them too, where just definitions are slipping your mind. I'm kind of in the same state. I can't think of what that's called, but I mean, you can catch it with your bicep and do S-catch type things by flopping your hand up and down like so. Let me keep going here. Oh, hello, Santiago. Thank you. All right, James says, do you have any tips to incorporate a fire chuck routine to make it look dope? Hoping to improve the point of doing shows myself someday. Yeah, absolutely I have a lot of tips when it comes to fire chucks especially, but I think the biggest one is to build it up. So when the chucks are first lit, now before I begin to talk about fire chucks, I always want to give the disclaimer to anyone that's just jumping in. Fire chucks, if you're interested in anything with fire dancing, first, make sure that you're very comfortable with chucks. Second, never try to do it alone. Always do your research and find a local fire troop that's willing to help you. This is not something you should do because you've seen it on the internet. It's something that you should do with precaution so no one gets hurt. Because I never want to hear a story where someone saw one of my videos and decided to do fire dancing and they got hurt because they didn't study enough. I'm telling you right now, please study it very well. Home of Poi has a fire safety manual. Most important thing is have an experienced fire dancer with you to guide you through the process because it's different than just learning chucks. With that said, let me go ahead. I wanted to get that disclaimer out of the way, always, anytime I talk about fire dancing. And then when you're talking about fire chucks, presentation is huge, of course, if you're going to be performing it. One thing to keep in mind is the fire is the most intense in the very beginning. So in my opinion, like, and this is with most fire dancing, I tend to switch props a lot. When I have a song, like a 3 to 5 minute song, I have anywhere between 3 to 5 props. And my reasoning for that is because the fire is the biggest in the first minute, and then it calms down, it slows down, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So you start off huge, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So one thing you might want to think about is creating a routine that might use chucks and a staff, or chucks and something else, and that can help, as opposed to trying to perform a full 5 minutes just nunchucks. Another thing you could do is, if you happen to do double nunchucks, you could start with a single nunchuck, halfway through go to doubles, and that would also be exciting. My big concern with a lot of fire dancing, in my opinion, is mostly that most of the bang happens in the beginning and then it calms down, you know. So I generally try to keep it short, very simple. But if you want to make it last and stay interesting, I would say the first thing I would do when I light my fire chucks is have some sort of theatrical way to light it. Don't just light it and start spinning. Present it, stand out there, hold it out in the air, whoosh. Maybe sometimes I'll hold the chuck like this and I'll light this end, but this will have a little bit of fuel on it. So I'll grab the fuel, light my fingers on fire, touch the other end, blow it out. So it looks like I grabbed the flame of this chuck and lit the other one and then blew it out. That's a really fantastic way to get people's attention. The next thing is, you got to be aware that when it's full of fire, that it's probably going to shoot like fuel everywhere if you didn't spin it off. So make sure you spin it off. And if you didn't spin it off, you're gonna have to be very careful for the next 30 seconds or so. The next 30 seconds to the minute is when the most chances of it transferring onto your arms or onto your clothes, because it's excess fuel that's coming off. A lot more chance to get burned by that. But if you did spin it off properly, which is, I hope you did, or you have a good plan for that, then you go really fast. Figure 8 wrist rolls, very fast with turns. I would say do that for like a minute straight. Just have really cool, just spin fast and furious, do a couple pauses. But what you're doing is you're getting the chucks to calm down first, because the fire is usually really intense. And you're also giving this spectacle, a big show that people can see all these great big circles. Once you get to that point, people have seen that enough. You don't have to keep going with that. Then I generally go into more of the throws, or the more of the interesting intermediate stuff. And then if I really wanted to go until the chuck was done, then by the last minute or so, I go super technical. The fire's almost out, I start doing the real technical stuff that, because the flame is no longer burning you, you can get away with a little bit more stuff that's not so fast. Generally speaking, that's kind of how I do it. Always have big moves at big points of a song, and when that big point hits, make sure you do the move that just catches the audience. A well-timed big move is huge. I think that's all we'll go with for now, but the presentation of all of that, I think, will help you with a really good performance. All right. Master Petrosi says that was awesome. Thank you. Halikoa says, any thoughts on incorporating spinning flying kicks with chucks? I actually have quite a few kicks that can be done with chucks. I have spin kicks, outside crescent kicks, and round kicks, all with nunchuck moves. My whole problem is, I think my age is catching up to me a little bit, and also not stretching every day. So when I was younger, I didn't always have to stretch every day to keep my kicks good. But as I've gotten older, I think my legs have tightened up a little bit more. So I don't do as many kicks out of fear of injury, especially in my 40s, because unfortunately my brother, he was a martial artist his whole life, just like I was, but he did too many kicks, and now he walks with a hobble, you know. Permanently, he has to have hip surgery, otherwise he just can't throw kicks anymore. So I'm always concerned about like overusing my joints anymore. So I've toned back on certain of my flashier moves, just because I want to make sure that I can keep doing this for the next 20 years or so. But I will show you a couple tricks with chucks that I did like. Just keep in mind, I'm not as flexible as I used to be. I leave that in the hands of youth. So one thing that you can do with a kick is I can be holding my right hand, spinning it clockwise. Keep in mind, when you do a chuck and you're throwing with a kick, you're gonna have to compensate for the differences in the motions. So this one is a back leg round kick. So my right foot's forward, my right hand's forward, my left leg is gonna do this round kick. And what it's gonna look like is this, whoosh. And the way this works is, as you're throwing your kick this direction, you're throwing out your round kick, what's happening is this hand is sneaking under. This hand is sneaking under as the foot goes this direction. So we're having this contrast of motions. This will make your kick look a little more wonky, because you have to fight. Like usually when you throw those kicks, your whole body's feeding into it. But in this case, your hand is feeding the opposite direction as your kick, which makes it a little bit harder for you to be able to get as much power because you can't pull it back into the kick. But what you do get is an under the leg throw underneath that. So it'll look like this. Here, you get ready for the kick. As soon as this kick comes, this is gonna wrap underneath like this, and then I'm gonna pull back and open my hand. Whoosh. Now, you can twist with it too, so I can go like whoosh. The thing is if you do a turn, you have to really pop it up so you can turn and grab it. I have not perfected the straight throw from underneath the leg. When my leg is moving this way, it's hard for me to coordinate a very vertical throw, but that's what I would recommend is throw and grab. I have not perfected that move though. So you get that and homework of making it look better than I did. A couple more kicks that I like is the outside crescent kick is another great under the leg throw. This one, you're not fighting your own motion. I like the round kick a little bit better, but in this one, you're doing like an outside crescent here, whoosh, or an outside crescent here. And what it is a number 3 bounce, and as you swing under, it's going under the outside crescent. So it's like number 3 bounce, whoosh, and the throw. It's gonna be similar motion as you can see. What's gonna happen is the hand is gonna kind of sweep under as the leg is sweeping under. So as this leg is sweeping over, the hand sweeps under. And the moment it makes connection with my leg, because they're gonna cross into each other, I pull back and I open my hand. So it's like, pretend this is my leg for a second. Pull. The moment I feel it connect with my arm, pull back and open with a throw. Oops, missed the catch. But you can turn this into a combo like number 3 bounce, throw, catch, number 3 bounce, throw, catch, whoosh. So you can turn it into a combo. Another thing is if you're really flexible, you can do axe kicks. So you can do a front to back hand roll and stall it sideways like this. So what I did was a number 3 bounce, front to back hand roll, stall. And then what you do is you axe kick it in the middle of the stall. So here, and then you're gonna axe kick it, so boom. And what that'll do is that'll launch it because your axe kick is coming straight up and straight down, and it's just coming straight down on this side of the chuck, causing the chuck to flip the opposite direction. So you lift it and throw it up in the air. Again, I can't do a high axe kick right now. I need to do more stretches. I'm not gonna try to do it hard, but whoa. So I'm gonna tell you the reason why that flew away. My axe kick actually hit the rope. The moment you axe kick past the balance point of the chuck, past here, it's gonna fly sideways. So you really wanna hit that balance point. Let me try that again. There. Should fly straight up as long as you're not hitting in front of the balance point. Again, if you hit in front of the balance point, it's gonna fly that way pretty far. I had a couple other kicks. I'll give you one more. This isn't necessarily a kick, but I like it. You're doing a figure 8. You're gonna hold it in a mid grip. You're not in a near grip. You're in a mid grip here, near your front grip. Spinning in a figure 8. You swing down in the figure 8 and you tuck this underneath your leg like this. You probably saw me do this. I did this in my flow. So you swing it under your leg and you lock it in your leg like this. So one hand's over here, locked under the leg like this. This becomes a circular spin around your leg. Whoosh, like this. From here, when the chuck is past 12 o'clock, you can stick up your leg and it'll cause it to bounce outward. What's gonna happen is you're gonna kind of kick it over to the side, and that's gonna cause it to revolve in front of you, and then you just kind of throw it into a front. This is a front to front throw. So it's kind of like a front to front roll, except for we're just kind of throwing it up with our hand. All in one motion, it looks like this. Here, nice and slow. Here, roll it through, kick it over, throw, catch. Like that. All right, I have a couple others, but my kicks aren't very good right now, so I dare not show them. But I hope that helps. I hope that helps, and I think that people that are flexible, XMA, martial artists especially, can probably take some of these techniques and take it so much further just because they got that flexibility. And my flexibility is on its way out unless I train it a little bit more, so. All right, I am going back here. All right, I got a couple questions here. I'm trying to be able to scroll up, but I can't. Give me just a minute here. Go on YouTube really quick. Just want to make sure some of the questions got lost. I hope this is informative for you all. I feel like we're always exploring something new every time, which is great. Just loading up the chat. Okay, fire chucks. Okay, there we go. So we just got the flying kicks with chucks. You can definitely do these jumping. Like the jumping round kick, you can still do that throw. It's just keep in mind, since you're going up and down, it's going to be at a higher force. Ike Flow says, nice flow, bro. Paul Stips, what's the move that looked like a spin in the air with a flat palm? You know, I'm not sure. Spin in the air with a flat palm. I'm not sure. Hopefully that there's a video that you can share with me. There's very few spins that you can do with a flat palm. I don't generally do a palm spin. You can palm spin chucks, but they don't stay in rotation very long. Let's see. Master Petrosi says, I totally agree. But yeah, Paul, if you happen to know, or if you could describe it a little better, or if you have a video, I'll try to do a little bit better. Ray says he means a chicken wing you did that when you did when you were spinning. Okay, yeah, the chicken wing. That's what it's called. Thank you. Which is basically an S catch with your bicep. I did not call it a chicken wing. Someone else did. Kudos to them. That's a much better name. The chicken wing. Okay. When the crazy COVID slows down, will you do a seminar in Michigan? I want to do a seminar around the world. I think I've talked about this before. Yeah, I would love to though. I need to get in contact with dojos and martial arts studios around the world so I can do a little tour and teach nunchucks to everyone. I want to meet you guys. Like, I think it'd be great. We have 50,000 subscribers almost now, and it's like, I want to meet some of you people, you know? So if you do want me down, start talking to some of your dojos around here. See if you can help me get in contact with them, and probably next year or the year after, it's going to be in the next couple years, I'm going to set up like a world tour. I've talked about it before and definitely want to keep doing that. So if you do have a dojo or if you know of one, please send them my way and see if we can get something figured out. Santiago says, Ken, are you from the United States? I sure am. I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, but now I live in Council Bluffs, Iowa, which is a nice little small town. I used to always joke that there wasn't a lot to do here, so I got really good at nunchucks. It's kind of true though. I'm not really distracted by a lot. When I'm over here, I think the biggest distraction is just playing video games, really. But for the most part, it's easy to stay on task because I don't want to say there's not a lot happening, but there's not a lot of distractions. It's not a big busy city where there's a lot of things that I want to do outside of training and running my own little circus show. So there's that. Master Petrosi says, I need an autographed pair of chucks. You're a legend in my dojo. That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Send me an email and maybe we can make that happen. Just ken.flotrix@gmail.com. And you said your dojo. Maybe you can find a way to refer your dojo over to me. And once this COVID thing is a little bit more under control, we can figure the whole world tour thing out and stopping by. James says, great tips. Thanks, Ken. You're most welcome. Jonathan said, could you please give me an insightful look at how to make the behind-the-back Cinco hand roll smooth? Yes. The behind-the-back syncopated hand roll is a tough one because you have to make sure that you are very straight, very clean. And the behind-the-back Cinco looks like this. Right? The trick is, when I'm back here, the trick is this. The moment you start the syncopated hand roll, the thing that messes up behind the back the most is movement. For instance, if you try to do a syncopated, when your hand's moving, you see how hard it is for me to control it? So when you do a syncopated, your hand has to be frozen in space. Something you can do if you're doing the syncopated to see is to even put a little dot on your wall, or imagine that there's a dot on the wall. So as I do the syncopated behind me, imagine there's a dot on the wall. So as I turn, I'm not moving away from this very much. My hand doesn't move very much in the same space. Even as it turns over, like the syncopated here turns over this way, right? So if I do a syncopated here, my hand doesn't move very much in space. It's stuck on this point. It's going to be the same with behind the back. As I twist, it's not going to move very much in space. And that's going to be the part where it usually flies off, is the fact that if your hand moves as you're unturning or unwinding, it'll make it, you'll lose control of it. So as you're spinning here, what you really want to focus on is keeping your hand very locked in that space that the transfer happened. It's still going to twist, but it's not going to move much at all. Even as my body moves, you can practice this, saying, okay, keep my hand close. Here, so as I do the twist here, my hand will go like that. almost like a machine. It needs to be very, very still. You can move it a little bit, but the more you do, the more variables you have of it flying out. That's probably going to be the best one. And also just make sure that you can do a regular syncopated too. I'm assuming you can, but some chucks are, like, especially with longer ropes, you have to make some adjustments. So if it's behind your back, you have to make those same adjustments while it's behind your back. This one doesn't require a whole lot of adjustments, but it still requires a little bit. The fact that you're turning, like, you may have to compensate a little bit for your arm wiggling as you turn around, but it's really important to keep that hand as steady as possible. All right, Alpha Omega Zero, thanks Ken. I need to get a Zoom meeting. Have a great week. Yeah, that'd be awesome. You should come down. Last time, again, we don't have a whole lot of people that's in Pro-Tricks, but it's like an hour and a half where we're all just training together, and you can ask any questions, and it's really fun to watch you train and to see what everyone's up to or where they are at their skill level. It's fantastic. The Helikoa says, I like the outside crescent kick. I feel you on the flexibility thing. We're about the same age. Yeah, the axe kick looks killer too. The axe kick is really fun. It's really easy to make the nunchuck go out of control. You really have to hit below that balance point because the farther away it is, the more in control it is. And then you can launch that thing super high too. But the closer to the balance point it is, the more erratic and crazy it gets. Ray McDonald, on the axe kick, which part of your leg are you redirecting or hitting the chuck with? My calf muscle. So, well, actually, hold on, let me see. Yeah, right there. That's where I'm hitting it, right there. Right before the bend of the knee. You could probably put it into the thigh too, but to me it just has less of an effect. Like if you keep it close to your body, you can use your thigh, but I feel like you lose a lot of the power of the kick. The farther away it is from your body, the more anchor, the more power that they're gonna see the chuck just go whoosh and whip up in the air. So, but you don't wanna go too far because you don't wanna like hold your hand out here while you're axe kicking or your body's gonna hunch forward. So you kinda have to find that balance. Generally, I try to get it close to underneath the kneecap, but not quite there. All right. Ike Flo says, gotta go. Catch you later. Have a great week. You too, Ike Flo. It's great. As always, great seeing you. You've been here like almost every time. It's awesome. James says, can you recommend an intermediate or big trick that looks good in a fire chuck routine? Trying to turn years of traditional martial arts chuck training into performing in fire dancing. An intermediate or big trick. I mean, for me, you got to keep it simple. That's not to say that you can't do difficult tricks, but keeping it simple is very important when you're trying to perform for a crowd because they don't know how hard things are. People will see a figure eight wrist roll just like when you first started watching nunchucks. When you first see a figure eight wrist roll, especially on fire, you're gonna think, wow, this guy's insane. But of course, this is like the bread and butter. This is like the basics for a lot of us, right? So you gotta keep that in mind with the audience is they want big, big moves. So a couple of big moves. One is the behind the back 360, which I do a lot, which is this one. If you're able to do that, I'll show you in 4 easy steps and then we'll explain. When you do this move in front of a crowd, do it 3 times. Don't just do it once. Again, you're trying to educate them that you're doing a complicated move. Do it 3 times. So go like this. 1, 2, 3. And the thing is each subsequent time that you do it, the crowd's claps will get a little bit louder, a little bit louder. So you want to extend the harder moves. Sometimes you want to do it multiple times, or you want to make it really dramatic and hold some badass pose while you throw something in the air. And it'll definitely get their attention a lot more. If you don't know this move, I'll show you. This is considered an intermediate move. There's 4 steps. One is by the hip, hands rotating clockwise or counterclockwise. This is step 1. Step 2, step 180 degrees so your back's turned. Step 3 is we're gonna throw it behind our back and we're gonna flick it. Now my left hand pulls backwards, almost like this is like the aim sight of a gun, and this is gonna swing towards my shoulder. And then step 4 is I'm going to let go and catch it. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to turn and I'm going to catch it. So I let go, turn and catch it. 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a lot more tricks to it. The behind the back 360, I think I have a couple videos covering that. So take a look at that. I feel like that's a really good one. Anytime I do this one too, where I do a horizontal figure 8, you see me do this one a lot too because crowds love this one. Doing a horizontal figure 8 like this, when I'm in my back grip and the chuck is below me and it's starting to swing almost like it's going to go upwards, my hand rips backwards and it becomes a horizontal throw. So it's here, rip backwards and horizontal throw. Horizontal throws are just nice. Looks like a little helicopter in the air, but it's a big move. Whoosh. You know, hold your hands out wide and wait for it to come down or something like that. Of course, you can always throw kicks. The kicks with the fire chucks. Something that I think looks nice too is a leg kick with fire chucks. So if you do a number 3 bounce, wow, and you kick forward and you hold the chuck just like this. So I basically did an axe kick, but then I caught it in the crease of my leg. You're gonna have fire on this side and this side of your body. Hold it there for a minute. Just stand there for a second, pause. They'll applaud you because that's wild. You have fire on both sides of your body, and then just flick it up. This is basically using the force of your leg. I'm pulling up against the leg to create a revolution, and then once it starts to lift, I just open my hand. So, rah, kick, grab, flick, grab. I would consider those to be all intermediate moves. Not too terribly hard. Takes a little bit of work, but work on the presentation and you'll get more applause than some of the hard stuff. Like this stuff here, like it's a lot harder to get the infinite X catch than it is to get those moves, but most audiences don't really care. They don't really care. They just see it spinning by the hands. They don't realize that it's a little more tricky than the move where he threw it behind his back. It's kind of funny. All right, I'm gonna keep going now. James O'Keefe, yikes, that's painful, Isaac. I hope they get started again when COVID dies back a bit. I'm not sure. I see the message was retracted, so I see. The dojo near me got closed and went out of business. That's too bad. Oof. Man, I hear ya. This COVID thing has been pretty nuts, right, y'all? I'm glad that y'all are sticking to it. But I will say, like, I wouldn't be doing these live streams if we weren't in a pandemic. I'd still be performing, and I'd probably be busy doing this performance life. But on the other side, I really got to meet a lot of really cool people online, which I think is fantastic. So when everything comes back, when the world and life comes back, I definitely am planning on keeping Flow Tricks more in the front than I did these past couple of years where I made performance in the front. I want to have a nice, healthy balance. All right. Rodolfo here. Shot from the Philippines. I used to be much more involved in the chucks, man. Be safe, dude. Welcome, Grace. That's awesome. That's really cool. Ray says, I need to discuss with the owners of the dojo I teach at, but I'd love to have you come out when the COVID stuff is over. Man, I would love that too. It'd be fun. Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic. Maybe we could do a Pro Tricks live stream straight from your place. Isaac, the first one that shut down was the one I went to, and my family was going to transfer me to the other dojos. They found out all the other dojos closed too. Yeah, it's really tough. Like, it's a tough call, you know? I know as a business, because I run a performance business too, even if your odds of dying from COVID is low, I know that the odds are a little bit low. Like, as a business owner, like, there's no way, it's really hard to justify ever keeping something open, even if everyone chooses to come and if everything is like veering towards doing it, just the odds in your fit. Like, for me, like, just having that feeling like I did it anyways, it's hard for me to ever, if someone ever did get COVID or get super sick, even though the law says it's okay and everyone else says it's okay, I can understand the responsibility of still wanting to keep things closed until things are a little bit more secure, just to be safe, just because you don't want that on your conscience. It's pretty tough, though. Santiago, I see a lot of hand claps, and ooh, I got a gold medallion. That's awesome. Jonathan, thank you, brother. Ray says, that makes sense. When you first said axe kick, I thought you were hitting it with the heel of your foot, like you would axe kick another person. No, but I mean, the technique is similar to an axe kick in that way, but no, you can't really heel kick. Oh my gosh. How long would your arm have to be able to pull that one off? That'd be awesome. Oh, that'd be great. James says, I love it, dude. You're awesome. Great. The fire chuck routine tips. Awesome. Yeah. Hey, James, if you want, like, share with me what you got. Send me a video of what you can do with your fire chucks, and we'll take a look at it. And I can give you tips from there. Again, when it comes to all the props that I do, everything in my world, you know, I was a performer more than an online guy. Everything in my world usually ends up in the performance world. So, like, I always want to gear it towards how does it look in a performance. So if you do want me to take a look at it, yeah, send it ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. Send me a message and be happy to look it over, and we can showcase it next Sunday and talk all about it. Live stream would be awesome. I think so too. Well, with that said, I think we're just about at the end of this one. We'll answer some last minute questions. So if you have any more last questions, let's get them in now. Otherwise, if you have videos or things to submit to me, send it my way. And next Sunday, we'll do this again, you know? You all know how it goes. All right. Oh, Dutch Flying Nunchuck says, Ken, it's Gunther. Hey, it's been a minute. I want to say hi. Thanks. Thanks to COVID in your streams, I'm still training daily. Love the progress. That's awesome. One of these times, if you want, share your progress. I'd be happy to take a look at that. That'd be pretty awesome. Oh, and I also want to remind you all too that we have a video compilation coming out. I keep forgetting about this, and I feel really bad. Anthony's been working really hard on this project. Let me see here. The Flowtricks Facebook group, the official Flowtricks group on Facebook. Anthony Michael is one of the admins on there, and he's helping me put this together. But basically, you send me your best 15 seconds of flow. It's due in a couple days, so take 15 seconds of flow and send it out to, well, first go to the official Flowtricks group on Facebook, official Flowtricks group. You can look up Anthony Michaels. If you can't find it, just send me an email and I'll forward it out to him. I'm ken.flowtricks@gmail.com. You guys know that because it is going on the YouTube channel, and we're definitely going to broadcast it far and wide. I'm actually going to post in it right now, so if you guys do join the Facebook group, you can see it really easily. But we, would love to have you in it. Would love to have a big compilation of nunchuck spinners and ninja spinners of all places, like from all over the world. So please send it in. Either send it to me, ken.flowtricks@gmail.com, or go to the official Flowtricks group, and you can directly send it to Anthony if you can find that page. Either way, let me know, because I would love to have you in it. Would love to see more nunchuck spinners. All right. A couple more, and then I'm going to head on out. Dutch says, by the way, you have cool nunchucks. I ordered more than 2 months ago, but have no confidence anymore that Border Patrol will pass it. Do you have it on tracking by chance? I can tell you this. There was a time that I ordered... I shipped out my LED. I had shipped out LED props, and it took 3 months for it to get past border customs. What happened was they lost it. So maybe they lost yours too, but for me, it took 3 months to get my prop. So hopefully that's the case with yours, and it'll come in soon. Sorry to hear it's taken so long. People are really weird with nunchucks, and I don't get it, because we're in a society now where, like, how can this be as illegal as a gun? Like, it doesn't make sense. You know, it's padded. It's like, I don't know. I can think of so many more destructive things. So yeah, there's that. Hopefully, I do hope it comes in. Soham says, you have inspired me to train in nunchucks. Love you, bro. Thank you. Much appreciated. I appreciate all of you guys. You know, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't know what I would do with my week. So thank you all again for joining us for another live stream. If you have any more questions, definitely send me a message, ken.flowtricks@gmail.com, and we'll cover it next week. Oh, I got one more, and then I'm going to go. James says, I haven't been able to practice with fire chuck since February, sadly. I need to get myself a new set. I will share a little flow on normal chucks, however. That sounds great. Yeah. I totally understand. And Dutch says he made a choreography of 20 seconds, which is great. Yeah, just send it to me, or if you go to the official Flowtricks group, you can send it directly to the guy that's organizing all the videos. Official Flowtricks group is the Facebook page. If you don't have Facebook, though, just send it to me, ken.flowtricks@gmail.com, and let's get the show on the road. All right, y'all. I hope you all have a great week, upcoming week. Don't be afraid to message me, even if it's just an email, anytime. And yeah, I'll see you all on Sunday, if some of you on Thursday as well, for all the Flowtricks people. All right, take care. Have a great Sunday.